It's been a cruel and devastating year. The events of October 7th and their aftermath have turned our world upside down. The horror, the sadness and bewilderment we have experienced and continue to feel are profound. The deep emotions and thoughts we carry within us are difficult to articulate. In moments like these, poetry can come to our rescue, helping us open up the ultimate depth of being, as the French philosopher Gaston Bachelard said. To open the ultimate depths of being. Poetry has the power to reach into our innermost selves, allowing us to express what is otherwise inexpressible and hidden. It can push us beyond our comfort zones to confront difficult truths and emotions, leading us to profound insights. Felicia and I have selected a number of poems to accompany us during these Yamim Noraim, which you can find in this special booklet. I invite you to turn to page 2, the first poem on page 2. In the months following October 7th, Israelis wrote poems to express the nation's powerful surge of feelings and emotions. These poems gave voice to choked tears, rage, and despair. Israeli educator Rachel Korazim has collected 59 Hebrew poems along with their English translations in a recently published anthology called Shiva. The author of this poem on page 2, Mom is Always Right, is Itai Lev, a writer, musician, and choir director. Ima Tamid Tzodeket, by Itai Lev. אמרה שעד שאגדל כבר לא יהיה צבא, אמא צדקה. עוד לא גדלתי וכבר לא היה צבא. הוא לא היה כששמעתי צעקות בחוץ. הוא לא היה כשראיתי את אבא כל כך מפוחד ולחוץ. הוא לא היה כשדלת הבית נפרצה בביתה. הוא לא היה שהתחבאתי מתחת למיטה. הוא לא היה שהדפנו שלושתנו את דלת הממ"ד. הוא לא היה כשהזמן פשוט עמד. הוא לא היה כשהם נכנסו פתאום פנימה. הוא לא היה כשהם קראו את אבא מאמא. אמא אמרה שעד שאגדל כבר לא יהיה צבא. אמא צדקה. ועכשיו רק רציתי להגיד לה שהיא תמיד צודקת. בכיתי, צעקתי, והיא עדיין שותקת. Mom said that when I grew up, there would be no army. Mom was right. I haven't yet grown and already there was no army. It wasn't there when I heard the screaming outside. It wasn't there when I saw Dad so scared and stressed. It wasn't there when the door was kicked in. It wasn't there when I hid under the bed. It wasn't there when we three pushed back on the door of the safe room. It wasn't there when time just stood still. It wasn't there when they suddenly entered. It wasn't there when they tore Dad off Mom. Mom had said that when I grew up, there would be no army. Mom was right. Now all I want is to tell her that she is always right. I cried, I screamed, and still she is silent. When you grow up, there won't be an army. By then there will be peace and everything will be okay. So many parents in Israel cling to the hope, or perhaps the illusion, that by the time their newborns grow up, peace will have arrived and the army will no longer be necessary. They dread the anguish that will come 18 years later when their children are called to enlist, the endless sleepless nights, the possibility of a fateful knock on the door. Mom said that when I grew up, there would be no army. Mom was right. With profound sarcasm, the poet turns this idea on its head, denouncing the intense sense of abandonment felt by Israelis on that fateful day of October 7, one of the most catastrophic failures in Israel's history. The poem captures the sheer terror experienced by the victims as they were hunted and murdered by the terrorists. There was no army to protect the young people at the Nova Festival. No army to protect those in the kibbutzim and towns in the Gaza envelope area. No army came to their rescue. The repetition in the poem, the words, "Ulo haya," it wasn't there, time and again, is a powerful indictment of the army, the intelligence apparatus, and Israel's government. The Israeli government and military have tragically failed in their most fundamental duty to protect their own citizens. Ulo haya, they simply were not there. So much of what we took for granted and relied upon has unraveled over the past year since October 7. So many of our certainties, assumptions, and expectations have collapsed. We believed we were safe, both in Israel and here in America. We thought the creation of Israel had transformed Jewish history, that Israel was a haven where Jews would no longer be vulnerable to anti-Semitic hatred, persecution, and massacre. Yet on October 7, the state of Israel failed to provide basic security for its people. Since then, and with the ongoing war in Gaza and now in Lebanon, there has been an overwhelming sense of vulnerability and peril among Jews in Israel and around the world. Here in America, we also believed we were safe. But this year has revealed a growing sense of insecurity. We have witnessed the targeting of Jewish businesses, the bullying of Jewish students, vandalism against synagogues, and hateful rhetoric that blames Jews for the war in Gaza. And just a couple of weeks ago, the former president's menacing suggestion that Jews may bear responsibility if he loses the election has only heightened our fears. Many of us believe that peace between Israelis and Palestinians was within reach. At times, it felt imminent. Now we confront the reality that peace is unlikely to materialize anytime soon. A dream postponed for who knows how long. Some thought that the Israeli-Palestinian conflict could be effectively managed without addressing the occupation, but that approach has not worked. Others believe that a right-wing government in Israel would be better at keeping people safe. That notion, of course, has also failed. We once believed that Israel would always remain a liberal democracy. It seemed unquestionable. However, A dangerous, radical ideology has moved in from the fringes to the core of Israeli political power. A movement made of Jewish ultranationalists, supremacists, religious fanatics, and messianists has taken control of the state's central institutions. We can no longer take for granted that in the future Israel will share a vision aligned with our basic moral values. If these extremists have their way, I fear that the Israel we knew and loved may cease to exist. I express this with great trepidation and profound anguish. Here in America too, much of what we once took for granted is now at risk. The foundations of truth and a fact-based understanding of reality have been significantly eroded in many areas of our society. Each day we are confronted with outrageous falsehoods and blatant lies, often propagated for political gain. This climate of misinformation has fostered hatred and divisiveness, tearing at the social fabric and undermining our sense of solidarity as a nation. We have already experienced political violence, including the events of January 6th and 2 recent assassination attempts. And we now live with the fear of the very real possibility of greater violence in the months ahead. We have been living with a profound sense of alarm regarding the state of our democracy, realizing that its continuity can no longer be taken for granted. With just 33 days until the election, anxiety looms large, and for many of us, the prospect of the former president returning to the White House is truly terrifying. We are deeply concerned about the potential repercussions for our country, the rise of authoritarianism, setbacks in racial equality, restrictions on reproductive rights, and the erosion of LGBTQ rights and equality. We worry about the implications for immigration, for climate change, and the future of our educational system. Last year was devastating in so many ways, and we long to put it behind us and embrace a new year filled with hope, with optimism and blessing. But we enter this new year feeling unsettled, unmoored, and adrift. We desperately want the assurance that in the end, all will be well. Let us turn to the next poem. The next poem, All Will Be Well, I Promise, by Chaim Guri. Chaim Guri was an enormous poet in Israel, a journalist, a documentary maker. Born in Tel Aviv in 1923 to a socialist Zionist family, he joined the pre-state Jewish underground, the Palmach, and was sent to Europe in 1947 to help smuggle Jewish refugees to Palestine. In the War of Independence, he was a deputy commander in the Palmach Negev Brigade, and he continued serving in the reserves through the 1973 Yom Kippur War. Chaim Guri worked as a journalist and covered the Eichmann trial. He has published more than 20 books of poetry and prose, as well as countless articles. He published his last collection of 86 poems in celebration of his 90th birthday. He died in 2018 at the age of 94. Here's his poem, All Will Be Well, I Promise. בוא קצת שקט, בוא קצת שעמום, מגיע לך. הכל כל כך צועק פה, לא גמור. מה שלומך? שואלים אותי ברחוב, אנשים למיניהם. שלומי כשלום עמי, אני משיב להם. ואז פולטים הם הנחה קצרה. שותפים לעת צרה. יהיה טוב, אני מבטיח, כאיש סודו של המשיח. Come a bit of quiet. Come a little boredom. You deserve it. Everything is so loud here, unfinished. How are you? They ask me on the street, all kinds of people. I am how my people are, I respond. And then they heave a small sigh like sharers of a troubled time. All will be well, I promise, as if I were the secret keeper of the Messiah. It is so easy to relate to this poem. In its simplicity, this poem mirrors what we all feel. If we could only have a bit of quiet, a little boredom, we all deserve it. There's so much turmoil in our lives, in our world. Everything is so imperfect, undone, rough. It is almost impossible to contemplate getting to a place of wholeness, of peace, of shalom. Ma shlomcha? How are you? In Hebrew, literally, how is your peace? Ma shlomcha? How is your peace? Meaning, are you well? Are you whole? The answer, shlomi ki shlomami. I am how my people are. Ma shlomcha? How are you? Has been an impossible question since October 7th. Like the poet, this past year many people have been answering Shlomi ki shlomami. I am how my people are. How can I be when my people are in pain? I am in pain like everyone else. Aren't you too? And then comes the sigh in the poem. Yes, we all share the same profound pain. Nobody is well or whole or at peace. But people want some reassurance. The pain is too great to bear. How much longer can we endure it? Okay then, says the poet, all will be well. Yeh tov. Yeh tov, all will be well, is a very common expression in Israel, often used as a hopeful reassurance during difficult times. All will be well. It is said with sincerity, yet without a solid foundation, just wishing to convey a little comfort. All will be well, I promise. And then the last line in the poem said ironically by the poet to himself or to the reader, as if I were the secret keeper of the Messiah. What do I really know? Do you think I'm the Messiah's confidant? I have no idea when he plans to come. I'm happy to give you reassurance, but I really don't have the faintest idea when all will be well. All is not well with us. We don't believe in empty promises. We can't embrace false hope. There are no magic solutions, and there's no Messiah on the horizon. We are all well aware of our tough predicament. We live in an unredeemed world, and we have no certainties and no guarantees. In our tradition, there exists a framework, a paradigm for understanding all that is wrong, out of joint and imperfect. It's the idea of exile. Exile is not merely the experience of a nation's expulsion from its land, or the homelessness, wandering, and vulnerability that our people have endured for 2 millennia. Exile represents the existential human condition of living in a broken world. Exile, which is another name for brokenness, is not just the current plight of the Jewish people. It is the fundamental condition of humanity and the entire universe. Our tradition teaches that even God shares in this state of disharmony. The Talmud tells us that wherever the Jewish people have been exiled, the Shekhinah, the divine presence, went into exile with them. The divine presence not only shares in the pain of our people and all humanity, but also in our dreams of return and restoration. Throughout the generations, the Jewish people have not succumbed, but have confronted the harshness of exile with resilience and creativity, and with intensified spiritual work. It is precisely in exile that our people have demonstrated the highest creativity, the highest resilience, and have done the most intense spiritual work. So here are some responses to exile drawn from our long Jewish collective memory. First, there's the work of self-examination and accounting of the soul. That's the Teshuvah. The Talmud says, Rava, and some say Rav Chizda, said, a person who's facing troubles should examine their actions first. This suggests the importance of introspection rather than the placing blame outside. We, of course, want nothing to do with responsibility for our own troubles. The blame is always somewhere else. But the Talmud suggests in our tradition that sometimes, perhaps, we may have a part in our own misfortunes, and we must hold ourselves accountable. We must ask ourselves, what could I have done differently? Or more importantly, what can I do differently moving forward? Maimonides taught that Teshuvah is not a repair of the past, but a change of direction for the future. The essence of Teshuvah is the choice to free ourselves from the past and forge a different future. Another response to exile. The Kabbalists, the Jewish mystics, gifted us the concept of tikkun, or repair and restoration. Before the beginning, they said, before there was a heaven and an earth, God's light poured forth, intended for divine vessels. But the vessels were not strong enough to hold the light, and in a primordial catastrophe known as the shattering of the vessels, Shvirat HaKelim, the divine light was scattered like so many sparks. Today, we live surrounded by these sparks and by the shards of the vessels that were meant to hold the light. The restoration of the primordial harmony must be aided by the activity of devout people, just like ourselves, in the world, whose task is to gather up the scattered sparks. People do this by means of spiritually focused acts, including prayer, and so at every moment and with every deed, each and every person becomes a protagonist in the great process of restitution and cosmic repair. That's the teaching of Jewish mysticism. We all have a part in the repair of our condition of exile and finding our way back home through the performance of holy deeds. Yet another response. There was a tradition among the exiles of the Spanish expulsion 5 centuries ago to rise in the middle of the night on Shabbat to sing devotional hymns. The tradition of these sessions, which were known as bakashot, or petitions, continues till this day. When I am in Jerusalem, I attend these sessions, and I sit there enraptured by the poetry and the music from 3 in the morning until 7. And you know, when you come in, it's totally dark and silent outside, the singing and the chanting inside, dark all around outside, And then little by little, you see the light coming in. At 7 o'clock, the sun is up. The poet and scholar Peter Cole says that one goes into the outer dark to sing bakashot as one embraces the darkness within in order to overcome it. Night symbolizes exile, sleep, and individual alienation. Waking up in the middle of the night serves as a powerful metaphor for the transition from the heart's slumber to its awakening, to the pursuit of God's presence at dawn. Awakening in the middle of the night's darkness reflects the struggle of consciousness, wrestling with a hope of salvation. It is a deliberate effort to emerge from darkness into light. In exile, we Jews don't sleep through the darkness, and we don't avoid it. We inhabit it, work through it, pray and sing through it, and work to help bring about the dawn. It is an act of defiance. We refuse to despair. We sing every week, every single week, all over the world. In Kabbalat Shabbat in the Chadudi, Hitoreri, hitoreri, kiva orech kumi ori, uri uri shir daberi, kevod Adonai alaich nigla. Arise, arise, your light has come. Rise up now, awake and shine, awake, arise, and utter a song. Through you has God's glory been seen. This is the faithfulness that these troubled times require of us, to hold ourselves accountable, to increase the performance of holy deeds, to remain awake and defy the darkness. These troubled times require us to remain loyal to our beliefs and our values, steadfast in our commitments and reliable in our work. Our commitment to one another, to Israel, to our country, and supporting each other through these challenges. All is not well with us. We do not believe in empty promises. We can't embrace false hope. There are no magic solutions, and there is no Messiah on the horizon. The recurrent words of Itai Lev's poem, "Mom is always right," still rings in my ears. Ulo haya. It wasn't there. It wasn't there. And there's no Messiah here. But we are here. Will we be here? With faith, with integrity, with dedication, and with conviction.